Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online character build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're taking a look at the Paladin character for the Elsweyr update. And yes, I did do some major overhauls to this character to make it more player friendly for newer people, and also to show you just a different kind of way that you can play the character if you want. Now, I chose the Khajiit for this because, not because it's the best option, but because that's what I play on live with my character is a Khajiit Templar, and I wanted to use this as a guide. Now, the whole premise of this character is that they are a Paladin of Joan and Jude from the temple there in Recall, where you take the two sisters on the story for the Dark Main and everything. That's where your character is a Paladin from. Is there, and that's the idea behind this character. Now, you can be a paladin of anything you want, that's up to you, but the whole premise of this character is that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So Khajiit Templar for this particular setup is going to be, I don't want to say the best, but it is a really good option for it because of the way it's set up. As you can see, we have 54 into health, 10 into stamina. This is going to set your health pool a little low, but if you wanted to, you can adjust that with enchants. So it's really up to you on how you want to do this. I prefer this just as it is. So we have 21,787 max magicka, 31,936 max health, 21,805 max stamina, and our magic recovery is coming in at 1,118. We have a 530 health recovery with a 657 stamina recovery. It seems a little off to some people, but don't stress it, guys. That's exactly how I want the recoveries to look on purpose. Now, you can see we have an 1818 weapon damage with 28% weapon critical, 26% spell critical with a 1509 spell damage. Our spell resistance is coming in at 24,000, physical resistance at 21,977. And when we buff up, we actually almost reach the cap. 32,000 spell resist with 29,000 physical. We are using the Lady Mundastone to boost our resistances, and we are using Tristat food. Speaking of the food, for this, if you are playing a tank, I would suggest using the Longfin Pasty with melon sauce. If you're going to play this build as a damage dealer, I would suggest as a stamina damage dealer, Dubious Cameron Throne, and as a healer, Witch Mother's Potent Brew. This is going to give you the best management of playing those roles. Now, if you play this as a damage dealer, I choose to use the Greatsword. If I'm playing a healer, I use a Lightning Staff with a Restoration Staff, and when I'm tanking, I use Sword and Shield with a Ice Staff. Now, you guys have already seen one of the sets because it's pretty obvious what it is, but let's go over the other stuff. And when I do DPS with this character, I do use a bow on the back bar. So let's go ahead and go over the sets. So starting with the main set, this is a set I love to use on this particular build. I have since the day I created her, and that is Sentinels of Rakuzma Mask. You can use whatever you choose on this. But I choose this particular set because it works really good. So the one-piece bonus on this adds Healing Done. The two-piece, when you heal yourself or an ally, you have a 10% chance to summon a Dwemer Spider that heals for 1199 health and restores 524 stamina to you and your allies within 5 meters every second for 8 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. So it has an 8-second uptime, 15-second downtime. So you have that choice. The next set we're using is Gladiators. As you can see, 2-piece weapon critical, 3-piece weapon critical, 4-piece weapon damage, 5-piece when your target is under 25% health and it has, or 25% health, add 1800 weapon damage to your light and heavy attacks. This is mainly just to boost your ability to do damage when you're not tanking. When you're tanking, that 1800 weapon damage does apply really well to your character because you're going to be doing a lot of light and heavy attacks anyways, even with the enemy before they're below 50% health and above 50% health. That's how you sustain your resources. Or 25% health, sorry. But that's how you retain your resources really well. And that 1800 weapon damage does apply to the resources a little bit. Alright, moving on. The other set we're using is Combat Physician. Now this set is an unusual set for a lot of people to say. They don't like it, but I prefer it with this setup because it works out really well. A Paladin's job is to protect their group and their allies. And utilizing tools available to do that is really what you want to do. And this set really can do that because it gives you max magic on the 2-piece, 3-piece spell crit, 4-piece spell crit, and then when you critically heal yourself or an ally, you grant your target a damage shield that absorbs 9,506 damage for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. In dungeons, this setup is really good. In trials, if you're playing trials with this build, it helps to have a little bit more survivability, especially when you're learning trials or your first time doing trials. That's why I set this one up the way I did. But it is a really good set for this because it does boost your spell critical a lot, and it allows you to take advantage of that higher spell crit. Alright, so let's go over the traits on the gear. On the helm, chest, and legs, we are using Invigorating with Tri-Stat enchants. This is going to give you that higher pool to play that hybridized type character to where you want to be a tank, a healer, or a damage dealer. Moving on to the smaller pieces, we are using a Magicka Sturdy Belt with a Magicka Sturdy Shoulders. And as you can see, I do have 5 pieces of heavy. The shoulders, everything but the belt and the helm. The helm is medium, the belt is light. So these two, though, are Magicka. The gloves and the boots are stamina with sturdy. So you're going to use sturdy on the smaller pieces, Invigorating on the bigger pieces. The reason why is because Khajiits already get extra health, stamina, and magic recovery. You can actually play off of that really well. Moving on to the jewelry, we are using 2 trirunes, one with this weapon damage enchant, with the spell damage enchant, and then we have one with a magic recovery infused. This is so we can boost our magic recovery, so we can use a lot more magic abilities and sustain using those magic abilities. Moving on to our shield, we are using a divine shield. It's supposed to be sturdy. But we have it. I think I remember why I set this to divines. That's just to give us that little bit of extra from using the Mundus stones. Just a little bit more. It's not much, but it does help. And then on our sword, we are using a decisive sword. And this is going to allow you to build ultimate on a 20% chance. When you deal a light or heavy attack, you can gain ultimate, or I think it's with any ability, really. And then we have an absorbed stamina enchant on it. On the back part, we have an infused ice staff with a crusher enchant. This is going to allow you to keep crusher up more effectively for your group, and to keep that applied for your group's purposes to improve damage. Alright, now that you guys have seen that, and you've seen all the other tools, I will go over these real quick. So for the bow, you're going to want to use a infused bow, not a precise bow, with a weapon damage enchant. With your two-handed, Nirnhone is going to be the best option. I chose Oblivion damage because Oblivion damage will rip through anything, shields, it doesn't matter, and it will apply damage no matter what. You can change this to whatever enchants you want. When you're using the lightning staff, I put it infused with the hardening enchant. This way I can have greater survivability, because the way this character works as a healer, they're going to be up front most of the time. They're going to be right with the group. And then the restoration staff, weakening powered to improve your healing done. And that is how I have the weapons set up for using this in the different roles. Sorry I didn't set the bow and the shield to the proper things. I'm just going to do that while I'm talking to you guys real quick. That was my mistake. But yeah, this build can really do a lot of different things, and it's really effective at playing the tank, the healer, and the damage dealer role. It's not super effective as a damage dealer per se, But if you need higher damage while you're doing quests, or you're helping somebody earn some gear through dungeons, you have those tools available to play the role to help somebody do that stuff. So, and start. There we go. So, moving on to the skills, guys. With all builds, I'm always going to say this: unlock all your class abilities and passives, because you never know what skills you might want to use in different situations, whether it be PvP, dungeons, trials, dynamic group play in the open world, solo play in the open world. You might want to use different abilities for different reasons. So make sure you unlock all your class abilities and passives. Moving on, two-handed, same thing. Unlock all the abilities and passives. Sword and shield, unlock all the abilities and passives. Since we're primarily a tank, this is where you're going to focus most of your playtime, is in sword and shield in the beginning, along with destruction staff. You're going to level this way. Then you're going to unlock the other ones as you progress further in the game, unlocking more skill points and stuff. Moving on to armor. Light armor, really important to note with the Templar, is the Templar does have Restoring Spirit, which reduces the magic, stamina, and ultimate cost of your abilities by 4%. This is going to allow you to take advantage of the light armor passives and the medium armor passives for this particular setup. Grace is going to give you reduced effectiveness of snares applied to you by 4% per piece of light armor, and it's going to reduce the cost of your sprint per piece of light armor. But this is what I'm talking about. Increase your mag recovery by 4% per piece of light armor, and reduce the cost of your magic abilities by 2% per piece of light armor. That 2% with the Templar, that makes it a 6% reduced cost. This is going to save you more resources. Also, you want to take spell warding. This is going to increase your spell resistance by a small amount, but that small amount adds up with other amounts and can actually take you over certain amount of resistances, so you get a little bit more percentage value out of your mitigation there. Medium armor, dexterity, this one increases your weapon critical by 328. We are using a weapon damage set, the Kvetch's Gladiator. This applied with that really helps out. Next we have Windwalker. Windwalker increases your stamina recovered by 4%, reduces the cost of your stamina abilities by 2%, and then athletics, increase the movement speed bonus of your sprint by 3%, and then reduce the cost of your dodge roll by 4%. And this is counted based on how many pieces of medium armor you have equipped. Heavy armor, you're going to want to make sure you unlock the ability and the passives, because the ability can come in handy even if you're playing in PvP. That way you can focus on using a stamina ability instead of a magic ability for your physical resistance and stuff. And if you're using something like this, it grants you immunity to knockbacks and disabling effects for 4 seconds. A lot of people use those in PvP, so it can really help you out there. Resolve, increase your physical and spell resistance by 362 for each piece of heavy armor equipped. As you can see, we get 18, 11. Heavy armor just makes you more survivable. It doesn't just make you tanky. It just makes you more survivable. You can still even do DPS in it. Not as effective as you can in medium armor or light armor, but you can still do damage in it with the right setups. Constitution increases your health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor equipped. We get a 20% increase, and you restore 108 magic and stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Juggernaut increases your max health by 2% for each piece. As you can see, it gives us 10%. And then Resolve increases your magic and stamina of your heavy attacks, restored by 25%. Rapid Mending increases your healing received by 8%. Going over Soul Magic, I never found a point to unlock Soul Shatter. Now I do, and it's an actual really good ability to have unlocked, because if your health ever drops below 20% health, you can explode doing damage to anything within 8 meters of you. That little bit of damage can save your life sometimes, because this can also crit. Soul Summons allows you to revive once every hour without spending a soul gem, and then the same thing with Soul Lock. Killing an enemy with this ability has a 10% chance of automatically filling an empty soul gem. Now, going over the guild, stuff. Fighters Guild, I always unlock all the passives and everything, because the abilities, because, like, again, you never know. Like, I might want to use Flawless Dawnbreaker to increase my weapon damage when I'm solo playing, so this way I can play the quests and stuff in the game, and I can also adjust my attribute points to full stamina instead of having them set up like I have, so I can take advantage of being a damage dealer more than a tank or healer. And using some of these abilities can help you out. Mage's Guild, same thing. If I'm playing a healer, I like to take advantage of these skills. Even if I'm in open world and I'm playing the healer role, I can actually use a lot of these skills to my advantage. Sidric Order, same thing. Unlock all the skills and passives, mainly so you can take advantage of the skills if you need them. I forgot to unlock the passives. That's a noob thing, guys. Undaunted, make sure you unlock all the passives, and you can unlock these abilities. A lot of these abilities are synergies, so they do come in handy in group dynamics. Any of them can be synergized. So, Assault, same thing. Unlock the skills and abilities and passives you want to use for whatever environment you're playing in. If you focus into PvP a lot, I would suggest unlocking all these abilities and their passives, because their passives do help in PvP. Racials, we are a Khajiit with this. We get Cut Purse. This increases your experience gain with medium armor. This does help when you're playing this as a heavy armor character. Even wearing one piece of medium, it's going to allow you to raise the experience in medium armor faster. Just about as fast as it does using heavy armor. Robustness increases your health recovery by 100 and your stamina and magic recovery by 85. These automatically give you those recovery rates. With the 3 invigorating, it takes your max health recovery to 133, takes your stam recovery to like 1 something. I think it's like 109 or 106 or something like that, and 106 for mag recovery. It's more than that. I think it's 111. Could even be 111. But it just helps out. Or, sorry, 116. Lunar Blessing increases your max health, magic, and stamina by 825, and then Feline Ambush increases your critical damage and critical healing by 10%, decreases your detection radius and stealth by 3%. This is another one that really plays well into this, is you can take advantage of the critical damage and critical healing outputs depending on no matter what role you're playing. Tank, healer, damage dealer, because you can get that critical healing from both stamina heals and magic heals. You can get the critical damage from both stamina abilities and magic abilities. Crafting, alchemy, medicinal use, always important. When using potions, resulting effects last 30% longer. And provisioning, gourmand and connoisseur. Both of these will add 20 minutes to the duration of your foods. And I do want to go over, I forgot to do this, I want to go over these foods real quick. The foods, I did mention Dubious Cameron Throne and Witch Mother's Potent Brew and that, but I didn't mention the potions. When you're tanking, you're going to want to use Tripots. This is going to allow you to use the 3 stats to your advantage for when you're running low on resources. Spell Power Pots for when you're healing, and Warrior Pots or Stamina Power Pots when you're playing Stamina DPS. This way you can take advantage of all those sources for your character. Alright, now that we've done that, let's go over the skills on our bar. Since this is primarily a tank build, this will also be in the tank roll section, this same video. So starting with the sword and shield, we have Pierce Armor. This is here mainly for your taunt and also Major Fracture, Major Breach. This is really good for your group. It does also do some decent damage, especially with the way this is set up. Next, we have Heroic Slash. We have this here because it reduces movement speed, it does damage, it also applies Minor Maim, and it grants you Minor Heroism, allowing you to generate Ultimate. Our next ability is Radiant Ward. As you can see, surround yourself in a solar rays, granting you a damage shield that absorbs 11,112 damage for 6 seconds. The portion of this ability scales off your max health. Nearby enemies take 3,671 magic damage when the shield is activated, and each enemy hit increases the shield strength by 9%. So this thing gets massive in size depending on the amount of people you have around you, and they're all going to take damage, plus you're going to have a chance of proccing the Burning Light passive, which you can see does a 3,090 physical damage to the enemies whenever you activate that. So in total, you can pull 6k damage with this, and if you crit with both, you can get it up to almost 12k damage. Next on our bar, we have Extended Ritual. This one, exalt the sacred light of Adra, cleansing up to 5 harmful effects from yourself immediately and healing your nearby allies for 795 every 2 seconds for 24 seconds. Allies in the area can activate the Purify Synergy, cleansing all harmful effects from themselves and healing for 3,923 health. This ability scales off your highest offensive stat. So it's based off of your max stamina or your max magicka. So I use this even when I'm tanking or playing DPS. It's a really powerful heal, especially when you're playing either. Now this one, Absorb Magic. This is here to bolster your defenses, absorbing up to 18,522 damage from the next spell projectile cast at you and healing you for 16% of max health. It also, while you have a shield equipped and this ability slotted, the amount of damage you can block is increased by 8% and the cost of your blocking is reduced by 8%. Next ability we have is our ultimate, and we only use this in oh crap situations. That is Reviving Barrier. Invoke a defensive tactic to protect yourself and nearby allies with wards that each absorb up to 24,503 damage. The ward also heals you and your allies for 17,703 health over 30 seconds. Moving on to the back bar. The first ability we have here is a floater. You can put whatever you want here, and that is Radiant Aura. Champion the cause of divine glory to apply major or minor magicka steal to all enemies around you for 24 seconds, causing you and your allies to restore 300 magicka every second when damaging them. While slotted, you gain minor fortitude, minor endurance, and minor intellect, increasing your health, stamina, and magic recovery by 10%. Moving on to the next ability, we have Blockade of Frost. This is a great CC. Slam your staff into the ground to create an ice barrier in front of you, dealing 1,168 frost damage to enemies in the target area every second, and reducing their movement speed by 40%. Chilled enemies become frozen and are immobilized for 4 seconds. Next is another floater. We have Breath of Life here. This one, beacon your inner light, healing yourself or a wounded ally in front of you for 6,572 health. Also heals one other injured target for 2,190 health. So it's a really good way to help your allies out. Next ability we have is Purifying Light. Summon an expanding beam of pure sunlight to doom an enemy, dealing 2,412 magic damage to them and copying all damage taken for 6 seconds and releasing 20% of it as additional magic damage to them. Copied damage can do 12,744, and then when the effect ends, a pool of sunlight remains attached to the enemy, healing you and nearby allies for 1802 health every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. It's a small heal over time, but it really helps out. Next, we have Channeled Focus. Now this one, create a rune of celestial protection while active. The rune grants resolve a major ward, increasing physical and spell resistance by 5,280, and also receive 240 magicka every 1 second. Standing within the rune increases physical and spell resistance granted by 50%. That's why when you look at the character base, their resistances seem really low, but as soon as you cast this and you look, they go up really high in resistances, is because they get 50% more while they're standing in the circle. As soon as you step outside the circle, the resistances go down some, but not enough to stop you from being a tank. And you still retain the magic recovery and the minor mending. So when you have this out, you can go in here and you can look at some of your heals. Some of your heals are going to do more now because you're actually using this effect, which gives you minor mending. So learn your passives. You gain a lot of benefits from it. So, all right. Now, moving on to our champion points. Starting with the red tree, we have 66 in Ironclad. This is a universal setup, so you don't have to use this. You can use whatever setup you want. There's a lot of really good setups out there. Nephis just posted some videos showing how to set up for tanks and different trials and damage dealers and healers. You can use those setups if you so choose. You can use Alcast setups from his website. There's a lot of different stuff. Next, we have 31 into Thick Skin. This reduces damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. We have 56 into Hardy, reducing damage taken from physical poison disease damage by 12%. 56 into Elemental Defender, reducing Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. And then moving over here, we have 40 into Bastion, increasing effectiveness of damage shields applied to you by 16%. We have 19 into Quick Recovery, increasing your healing received by 5%. And we have 2 into Heavy Armor Focus, increasing physical resistance by 209. More to balance out the fact that we're a Templar, we get higher spell resist because of our class, just to kind of give us a little bit more physical resist to kind of balance it out. It's not enough, but it helps. Next, we have 40 into Warlord. This reduces your break free cost by 16%. We have 16 into Sprinter, reducing your sprint cost by 10%, and 16 into Bashing Focus, reducing your bash cost by 10%. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Arcanist, increasing your mag recovery by 10%, 75 into Tenacity, increasing your magic and stamina return of your fully charged heavy attacks by 14%, and then over here we have 40 into Tumbling, reducing your dodge roll cost by 16%, 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 16%. And then moving on, we have 43 into Blessed, increasing your healing done by 10%, 23 into Elfborn, increasing your critical damage and critical healing done with magic abilities by 10%, 43 into Elemental Expert, increasing your Flame Frost, Shock, and magic damage done by 10%. And then moving over here, we have 16 into Physical Weapon Expert, increasing your light and heavy attack damage done with all stamina-based weapons and werewolf form by 10%. 16 into Staff Expert for the same reason. It increases Destruction, Staff Restoration, Staff, and Overload from the Sork by 10%. And then 40 into Master at Arms, increasing your direct damage done by 16%. The main reason why we have these in here is so we can unlock Reposit. Moving on, we have 43 into Mighty, increasing your physical poison disease damage by 10%. 23 into Precise Strikes, increasing critical damage and critical healing by 10%. And 23 into Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 10%. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do in my character build videos. I'm going to take this into a dungeon and show you guys how effective this thing can be as a tank. This is also going to be under the tank rolls section in my guides. So we are going to go actually do this, because I need to set it to veteran, and then we are going to just jump right over to the Depths of Malatar. And this is just to show you how effective this thing can be as a tank in a dungeon. And I chose Depths of Malatar because it is one of the latest dungeons added to the game, and it is one of the more challenging, difficult dungeons for high-level play, really high-level play. So this is just to show you its effectiveness as a tank against trash mobs. I'm not going to take it all the way to the boss and stuff, because that just takes too long. And this thing's not made to do DPS. It's just made to tank and help the group. And just so you can see, like, even blocking, I can hold block here, and I can mitigate a decent amount of damage, and it doesn't cost me a lot of stamina. And if I need extra survivability, trust me, I can get it. And I haven't even used a potion yet. And usually most people would have already used a potion. But I have so many abilities that do things, like Magicka, Drain, and any damage I do is going to give me magic of steel, so... I will show Warhorn at least once. I just went ahead and used a potion just to get my recovery rates going. But you can already see, like, that one shield is going off, the barrier from combat position is going off, it's applying to me, and when it does, I get a really huge shield. I get 22k shields from it. So I can stand here forever, pretty much, without taking damage. All I have to do is pop a shield. So... let me do something here. That was my cat, guys. I apologize. He's freaking out over the window because of birds. And I think he might have almost fallen out. Alright, here's what Warhorn looks like. We go to 22, 23k spell and stamina. And then we don't get anything else, of course, in health, because we just don't. But I'm going to go ahead and let him kill me, guys, so you guys, but you guys got to see that. This thing is just pretty much an unstoppable beast. And yes, you can even play this with a two-handed, like I said, and still come in here and solo if you wanted. I will be showing that in another video called the damage dealer role, and then I will be doing another video on the healer role. So you guys can see how that works. And you can see how effective it is in those, the different role types. Playing those things, and I will be doing that in later videos. And that's it for the Paladin character, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.